When we speak of control, many think of suppression, but the Shaolin path is not about suppression, it is about understanding. To control the emotions is not to bury them deep, but to allow them to appear like clouds passing through the sky, without being carried away by the storm. In Shaolin training, we learn that the mind and body are not separate. Every strike, every breath, every movement is a mirror of what is within. If the mind is chaotic, the body reveals it. If the heart is calm, the body reflects it. The greatest challenge of emotional control is not found in the absence of emotions, but in our relationship to them. Anger can become fire that burns, or warmth that gives light. Fear can paralyze, or it can sharpen awareness. Sadness can break us, or it can deepen our compassion. The Shaolin path teaches that emotions are energies, and energy can be directed. To control emotions is not to deny them, it is to channel them. True mastery begins when you no longer ask, "How can I stop feeling?" but instead, "How can I transform what I feel into something that serves me and serves others?" This is the Shaolin way to remain centered like the mountain, while winds, rains and storms pass through. The emotions will always come, but they do not need to control you. When most people hear the phrase emotional control, their minds immediately think of hiding, burying, or silencing what they feel. They imagine a person who never shows anger, never cries, never raises their voice, never displays joy too openly, as if the appearance of stillness was the same as the reality of peace. But the Shaolin path does not teach suppression. Suppression is only the pushing down of energy, like pressing a lid on boiling water. The fire beneath continues to burn, the pressure continues to build, and eventually the pot must explode. To suppress is to ignore the truth of your inner world, and what is ignored will return again, often with greater strength and greater power over you. Emotional control, instead, is the art of being present with what arises, observing it, and then guiding it. Consider the breath in meditation. When anger appears, the ordinary man clenches his jaw, stiffens his body, and lets the fire spread. Another man may suppress it, forcing himself to smile, speaking softly but with an inner storm. Neither has achieved control. The first is lost in expression, the second is trapped in suppression. But the practitioner of the Shaolin path does something different. He breathes. He notices the energy of anger rising like heat. He acknowledges, "This is anger, it has come to me." By naming it, he does not become it. By breathing, he gives it space to change. This practice reveals the difference. Suppression closes the door on emotions, while control opens the window to let them move through. Control does not silence emotions, it gives them direction. Suppression is dangerous because it disconnects you from yourself. Imagine a river with strong currents. To suppress is to block the river with a dam, pretending the water has disappeared, but the river is still alive beneath the surface, building pressure until the walls can no longer hold. The Shaolin path instead teaches you to redirect the current. If sadness flows, you may allow it to water the seeds of compassion. If fear flows, you can guide it to sharpen your awareness. By refusing suppression, you remain honest with yourself. By choosing guidance instead of denial, you practice control. A monk once said, "The emotions you suppress become your shadows, and when shadows grow too large, they consume the light." This is why emotional control begins with truthfulness, acknowledging what you feel without judgment. To suppress is also to lose an opportunity for growth. Every emotion is a teacher. Anger teaches where your boundaries are. Fear teaches where you lack trust. Sadness teaches where you have loved deeply. Joy teaches where your values reside. If you suppress these messengers, you silence the lessons they bring. But when you practice control, not by erasing but by guiding, you gain wisdom from every feeling. The Shaolin path does not deny emotions, for emotions are part of being human. Instead it asks, can you meet them with awareness? Can you transform the wild horse of anger into disciplined strength? Can you turn the heavy stone of sadness into the seed of compassion? The essence of emotional control is not in pretending you are untouched by life, but in showing that whatever life brings, you remain the master of your inner response. In Shaolin philosophy, there is no separation between mind and body. What is carried inside will eventually manifest outside, and what you cultivate through the body will shape the mind. This is why martial training is never only physical, it is psychological and spiritual at the same time. When the mind is disturbed, the body cannot remain unaffected. Should you observe yourself closely, you will notice that when anxiety rises, the breath becomes shallow, the shoulders tense, and the stomach contracts. When sadness arrives, the body grows heavy, movements become slower, and even the eyes lose their brightness. This is not coincidence, it is the intimate dialogue between inner state and outward form. The Shaolin path teaches us that if we wish to control the mind, we must also watch the body, and if we wish to guide the body, we must also cultivate the mind. Think of anger. Before words are spoken, the body already knows. The fists clench, the jaw hardens, the heart beats faster, and heat spreads across the skin. The body mirrors the fire of the mind. Now think of calmness. In true peace, the body reflects it through softness in the shoulders, steadiness of breath, and clarity in the eyes. To master emotional control, therefore, is not only an exercise of thought, it is also an exercise of posture, movement, and breath. In Shaolin training, we practice standing meditation. At first the body trembles, the muscles resist, and the mind becomes restless. But as stillness deepens, the trembling calms, and the mind begins to mirror the steadiness of the body. The lesson is simple: whatever state the mind holds, the body will reveal, and whatever discipline the body practices, the mind will inherit. Modern life often deceives us into thinking we can hide the truth of our emotions, but the body does not lie. A smile on the lips cannot conceal eyes filled with sorrow. A strong voice cannot cover the shaking of the hands. In Shaolin practice, we use the body as a mirror. When movements become clumsy, when balance is lost, when breathing is irregular, we do not blame the body. We look within and ask, what is unsettled in my mind? Likewise, when the body is disciplined, flexible, and calm, it reveals that the mind is being cultivated well. This is why martial training is more than fighting. It is a continuous reflection of your inner world. Each punch, each stance, each breath is a question and an answer. What does my body reveal about my mind today? To walk the path of emotional control, you must treat your body not as a machine, but as a messenger. If the mind is restless, return to the breath. If the heart is heavy, return to movement. If thoughts are chaotic, return to stillness in posture. The body is not separate from the mind, it is the bridge to understanding it. In Shaolin we say that a strong body supports a strong mind, and a strong mind creates a strong body. Together, they form one indivisible circle. To neglect the body, while seeking mastery of the mind, is like trying to fly with only one wing. To neglect the mind, while training the body, is like building a weapon without purpose. Emotional control can only arise when the two are cultivated together, when the mind guides the body, and the body steadies the mind. Many people live with the belief that emotions are obstacles to be eliminated. Anger is called destructive. Fear is called weakness, sadness is called a burden, but the Shaolin path invites us to look deeper. Emotions themselves are not enemies. They are energies, movements of life within is. Energy in itself is neutral. It is only how we relate to it that decides whether it harms or helps us. Fire can burn a house down, but fire can also warm the cold night and cook food to sustain life. In the same way, anger can destroy relationships and cloud judgment, but it can also provide the strength to set boundaries and the determination to overcome injustice. Fear can paralyze the body, but it can also heighten awareness and sharpen the senses, protecting you from harm. When you stop labeling emotions as bad or good, you begin to see their raw energy, waiting to be understood and directed. This is why the Shaolin monk does not run from emotions, nor does he worship them. Instead, he studies them like a martial artist studies movement. Just as a punch can be wild and dangerous in the untrained hand, but precise and powerful in the disciplined one, emotions too can be unrefined or refined. The untrained person, when anger arises, is like a fighter throwing uncontrolled punches in every direction, hurting himself and those around him. The trained practitioner, however, feels the same energy of anger and channels it into focused movement, purposeful speech, or deep stillness. What was once destructive becomes constructive through discipline. In Shaolin practice, this is why we emphasize forms and repetition. You do not remove energy, you refine it until it serves you rather than controls you. Sadness too is often misunderstood. Most people resist sadness, trying to cover it quickly with distraction or suppression. But sadness has depth. It comes to remind you of love, of connection, of something that mattered. The Shaolin perspective is to sit with sadness, to feel its weight without drowning in it, and then to let it deepen compassion. A monk who has never known sorrow cannot truly understand the suffering of others. But one who has allowed sadness to move through him gains softness in his heart, and his compassion becomes real. The energy of sadness, then, is not weakness, it is the foundation of empathy. In the same way, even joy must be understood. Too much ungrounded joy can lead to attachment and loss of balance, just as too much fire burns out of control. But when joy is guided, it becomes gratitude, and gratitude strengthens resilience. The essence of Shaolin training is not the removal of emotions, but their transformation. Every emotion, no matter how intense, is simply energy moving through your body and mind. If you resist it, you fight against the current. If you suppress it, you build pressure behind a dam. But if you guide it, like a skilled martial artist guides his opponent's strength, you discover harmony. Emotional control, then, is not about fighting with yourself, it is about becoming the master of your inner energies. Anger, fear, sadness, joy, all of them can be sharpened into clarity, compassion, and strength, if you know how to hold them with awareness. And once you learn to see emotions as energy, you will never again see them as enemies. They become your teachers, your fuel, your silent allies on the path. The ordinary mind often believes that the only way to deal with difficult emotions is to reject them. Anger is pushed away, fear is hidden, sadness is buried, and restlessness is denied. But rejection does not resolve the root, it only postpones the encounter. In Shaolin philosophy, nothing in life is wasted, and nothing within you is without meaning. To reject an emotion is to reject a part of yourself, a messenger that has come to deliver a lesson. Instead of rejection, we speak of transformation. Transformation means to take what arises, and to give it a new shape, a higher form. Just as raw metal must pass through fire to become a sword, raw emotions must pass through awareness to become wisdom. The Shaolin path does not tell you to destroy your emotions, it teaches you to refine them until they serve your growth. Consider the energy of fear. To reject fear is to pretend you are brave, but underneath the mask, the trembling remains. The Shaolin way is to transform fear into vigilance, into presence. Fear sharpens the senses, makes you alert to your surroundings, and brings clarity to the moment. When transformed, fear is no longer an enemy, but a teacher of awareness. The same is true for anger. If you reject anger, it festers and poisons you in silence. But if you transform anger, it becomes courage, the ability to stand firm, to protect, to say no when something must not be allowed to continue. Transformation means to take the wildness of energy and shape it into discipline, the same way a martial artist takes a raw strike and polishes it through repetition until it becomes precise, effective, and beautiful. Sadness provides another powerful example. When loss or disappointment comes, many reject sadness because it feels heavy and uncomfortable, yet by doing so, they lose the gift hidden within it. Sadness transformed becomes compassion. When you allow yourself to feel sorrow fully, it softens your heart and opens your understanding of others. you realize that suffering is not yours alone, it belongs to all of humanity. The Shaolin practitioner does not ask, how can I escape this sadness, but instead, how can I let this sadness teach me? Through transformation, sadness becomes a bridge to empathy, deepening the connection between yourself and the world. This is why Shaolin teachings remind us, emotions are not punishments, they are invitations to grow. Transformation requires awareness, patience, and practice. Just as raw food does not become nourishment until it is prepared with care, raw emotions cannot become wisdom until you work with them consciously. Rejection takes no effort. Anyone can push away what they do not want to feel. Transformation, however, is a discipline. It asks you to sit in meditation and witness the storm without running. It asks you to breathe into your anger until it cools into strength. It asks you to hold your fear gently until it sharpens into clarity. This discipline is the essence of Shaolin training, to take what life gives you, whether it feels heavy or light, and to shape it into a force that uplifts rather than destroys. The true path to emotional control then lies not in rejection but in transformation, turning the raw into the refined, the unshaped into the purposeful, and the painful into the profound. The mountain stands tall, unmoving, and silent. Around it, the seasons change, the snow falls, the rains pour, the winds howl, and the sun burns. Yet the mountain remains. It does not fight against the storm, nor does it cling to the sunshine. It is steady, rooted in the earth, rising toward the sky. This image of the mountain is at the heart of emotional control in Shaolin philosophy. Life will never cease to bring challenges. People will test your patience, circumstances will trigger fear, events will bring sorrow. You cannot control the weather of life, but you can learn to stand like the mountain, unshaken in your center, firm in your foundation, calm in your presence. Emotional mastery does not mean you do not feel the wind or the rain, it means you do not let them carry you away. To center, like the mountain, is to cultivate stillness within movement. Imagine a storm approaching. The ordinary man becomes the storm. He shouts in anger, trembles in fear, collapses in sorrow. His center is fragile, and so he is easily moved by external forces. The practitioner of the Shaolin path, however, remains rooted. He feels the anger rise, but he does not become anger. He feels the fear stir, but he does not collapse into fear. He feels the sadness arrive, but he does not drown in it.